Ladies and gentlemen, NSBA now brings you our feature presentation.
Okay, here we go. How far is the progress now, and when do you think you might be on the floor level?
It's 8 months down and back up, but we're about 25% done the structure and the parquet. We hope to be at main floor the end of August.
Frankly, I'm surprised you have made so much progress since you started. It's really fantastic.
He's liking the concrete.
I'm so fond of that concrete, that work that they have done, just fantastic. Life is what you make of it. You can achieve your dreams if you choose and dare to dream.
Or whenever I ask him a question about something, he says, read the book, read the book.
Those musings and observations are a summary of what's in the book in few words. My father was a stone mason, so the stones was part of my life. I used to go and help him, and he built 2 of our homes using stones. I was born in a small village in Lebanon. The name of the village is Shwair. If you translate it into English, it means rock. And most of the people in the village have become stone masons.
It's kind of interesting that my father ended up working in concrete and becoming the so-called king of concrete, when his roots basically come from his father being a stonemason or working with rock himself.
My dad, he grew up very poor in the early days, and he could see very early, even as a child, that education was the way out. It wasn't his parents that pushed him to go to school. He made that decision himself and found the ways to make it possible. He had to leave his home, basically, and go to Beirut.
I would like to go to high school. We don't have money. How can we do that? You can go to high school, but you have to go and work in the cafeteria, in the kitchen, on the tables, wherever there is work. I said, that's wonderful, I'll do that. And from there, I went to university using basically the same idea.
Every step along the way, he had to make it happen himself. So that drive for education informs his whole life.
We were the first class that graduated from the university as civil engineers. My plan was to find work. I noticed there was an ad in the paper from an American company looking for civil engineers.
To construct and operate this pipeline, Trans-Arabian Pipeline Company was formed. TAPline for short.
They said, when can you start working? So the next morning, all I did, I went back to the office in Beirut. They put us all in a car and drove us to Sidon. That's where we were building the pipelines to go into the sea. So when I noticed that, I was driving and looking at it, I could see that that pipeline won't go under the bridge. It's going to go through the bridge, and you can't do that. So they made the changes, raised the bridge enough so that the pipeline will pass. And that was very important for the company and for me and for my supervisor, that it came at the right time before it could cost them lots of money. So they gave me a raise and made sure that I also was given more authority as far as the work is concerned. Within a year and a half, we almost finished the project.
Now, through the Trans-Arabian Pipeline system, flows the oil of Saudi Arabia to the storage tanks of Sidon.
Well, where am I going? What am I going to do after that? I felt I wanted to do more engineering. So I thought I'd apply for doing graduate work in the States. I was able to go get my a master's degree at the University of Kansas and then go back and work with Tapline. They finally gave me a job in Saudi Arabia where they had lots of work.
Then he started talking seriously about immigrating. He wants to go to America, to the wide world, and he wanted freedom, and he had big dreams.
Her answer was completely no. If we go to the States and I have an additional degree, I'll almost find a job almost any place where I want.
I got tired of it. Then I said, okay, if you want to go to the States, we have to find a university close to my aunt. My aunt lived in New Jersey. So we chose Bethlehem, and they accepted him.
I met Dora at the university. I used to see Dora.
He has a different
Give me a
story.
second.
Apparently they disagree about it.
I used to see her at the university. I found a job where I had to go to Sidon. I didn't know she was from Sidon or living in Sidon. Finally, I got to meet her.
My dad and his family had come to visit my mom and her family.
So he said, let's go have a look. I show you what I did before I leave.
My dad challenged everyone in the group to climb one of these massive oil tanks.
Fortunately or unfortunately, the only one who accepted to do that was Dora.
We were talking, and then I realized we were the only two left up there.
And for some reason or another, I said right away, would you like to marry me?
That's how romantic he is.
Oh, and she said yes.
No, I did say yes. I said, what? And I ran down the stairs.
Strive and persevere to complete your well-rounded education at any cost. If you have difficulty in whatever you're doing with your education, you can move education like a master key in your hand. You can use it whenever you need it. If you find work and you're happy with it, you stay with it. If you find work and you're not happy and having difficulty, use the key, move somewhere else.
As immigrants, it can be very difficult to get settled and established. Things were really tight. Dad was supporting us and supporting a lot of people back in Lebanon as well, and trying to get his siblings educated. You know, there were a lot of pressures.
And all of a sudden, I realized there was an ad in the engineering news record for an instructor at the University of Saskatchewan. So I applied.
And they accepted him. So he drove here.
So when I came right close to the edge of the city, it was beautiful, sunset, and you could see the city from far. And I said, it's going to be wonderful. I said, I hope this will be our home.
We came here. The weather was so beautiful. Flowers, fresh air. So I fell in love with it. But then the winter came. And that's when we started to freeze.
So when I came to Saskatoon, I know enough about research in concrete, doing different things and so on. And I finished my PhD doing work in concrete.
Nasser, in his early professional life, identified, as it turns out, an area of evolving and what turned out to be immense importance to construction around the world, and that was concrete construction. This whole lab, I know, is a really important part of the College of Engineering here at the University of Saskatchewan. This is a really important laboratory.
It's very important because of the use of the material. Yeah?
One of the things about concrete construction in one of its applications is that it is mixed and effectively made on site. And it's very, very important in concrete to get the mixture of water and cement and aggregate, gravel, right.
Okay, now you can see this is really the dry mix of the concrete. You add water to this and you mix it, it becomes much nicer and so on. It becomes uniform.
So the construction industry needed and continues to need tools to, in real time, determine whether or not this concrete mixture that's being delivered to the site, whether or not it will meet the specifications of the design engineer. The K-slump tester was a very simple methodology that can be used to determine the quality, whether or not the quality meets expectations.
And all what you do, you push this down into the concrete up to this level, more or less. After you give it 1 minute, you take it out. What you do, you measure how high did the concrete stay in that tube, and that was what we call the K-slump.
They used the K-slump on the building of the CN Tower in Toronto. Yeah, there's no big shadow there, is there?
The real estate development, it just happened by accident. My professor at the university, he said, "You're from Lebanon, your background in engineering, construction is quite different from our background here." So Professor Douglas said, "I would like you to go outside and do some work." And this was how I started in real estate, learning from the people I was serving. We started having an office
In 64.
in the basement. You're welcome to have a look at my office, my old office. And all the work I had to do here was basically come down and make sure all the projects that I'm doing financially are viable, they review the plans and all of that.
Kay has been the boss from the beginning, and especially with work, he was the boss. And I was the foot soldier, right?
I am an engineer, I'm a developer, constructor, carpenter, contractor, so I couldn't see how I can do well doing that type of development. I'm using my energies and so on as a down payment. But the important part is also I did not take the income from that property to use it for my family. I felt since I was a professor who was making enough money like anybody else, we should be able to live on my salary. Everything else goes into the real estate that I was doing.
And then he did the second in 65, and he started every summer a building.
You can do it by yourself. And fortunately, my wife was very kind and willing to do her part.
The business became quite a bit bigger, so my mom was managing the apartment rentals.
She helped a huge amount.
Us three girls were writing out all the rental receipts, so it really did start out as a family business. But then it got too big, and Dad built an office out in the Sutherland area and hired managers and kind of went from there.
At one time, I would think he was a workaholic. Maybe he was.
Do what you enjoy doing with passion. The rest will take care of itself.
Every corner has a great view in this building. It's just a totally different perspective on the city.
Oh, there's my patio. Look at that.
I had this built just for you.
Yeah.
A big part of Dad's success is he always keeps his eye on the big picture. And where other people tend to get bogged down with details about how to do things or how are we going to do this or this is going to get in the way, he always focuses on what is the end game here. And a good example of that is Parcel Y at River Landing. And there were many reasons why we shouldn't have gotten involved in that. But there was one good reason, and that was because it was the best piece of land in the city.
Now, where do you get that material from, you know?
Turkey.
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 Yes.
Oh, my goodness. I thought it would be Italy rather than Turkey.
The rest of your stone's from Italy.
Do you know if there is anything from Lebanon or Syria?
Nope.
Just you, Kay.
You're the only stone from there.
Shortly into the project, when we first started digging the hotel, and it must have been 20 below outside, and there was Kay standing in a vest and a hard hat and boots in the middle of the lot, just watching them do the work. And it triggered two thoughts. One, it validated his passion for the project. More importantly, it scared the hell out of me because I was afraid that he might get hit by a truck or a piece of equipment. And so we had to give Kay a few rules about how he could come to the site. And there's 250 people working on that site on any given day, and I'll bet you almost every one of them know Kay.
We had what was called a topping ceremony on top of the east tower. As soon as that bucket of concrete came over the top of the edge of that 13th floor, I don't know how many people my father elbowed to get in towards that bucket. And as they brought it down over top, there was no stopping him. He was going to get that concrete onto that patch. And there's a big burly man standing beside him ready to pump, but he wasn't going to pump because my dad pumped that concrete into that patch. And I'm sure that was a topping ceremony for him in effect. He must have been so proud and so happy to be doing what he was doing.
I would say that as a partner, the Nasser family are unique to the extent that they are a family in every way, shape, and form.
Everybody brings a different background to the table, and it's good to have everybody's input.
Well, I mean, you've got an engineer, an MBA, or a financial person, and a lawyer, and so everybody does have a different perspective, but
We complemented each other, really.
yeah.
Except Kay always schools us on business and law.
I'm really very happy that my son John, as well as my daughter Mona, were interested in what we have been doing. So they're doing basically everything.
We couldn't be more happy with where we're at today. We have every reason to believe that this project will finish strong and go off with flying colors. It really does go back to the reputation and the integrity of the Nasser family.
Quintessential K. Nasser is material things are not important to him at all.
He doesn't get value out of flashy cars, flashy clothes, or anything like that. I mean, as you know, he's been wearing the same light blue suit that he's had since the 40s maybe.
There was an article in the Globe and Mail, maybe about 10 years ago, talking about what's going on in Saskatchewan.
They started with the Von Wyant dealership and the Porsches and how many more Porsches there are in Saskatoon.
And then the next paragraph was, you will not find a Porsche on the driveway of Kay Nasser's house. And that is so true. He never cared about the trappings.
And honestly, I don't think he has a concept of money. He just has a concept of goals and succeeding. I guess that parlays into his advice he's given me, and he's probably given it to everyone else, that money comes and goes, but with your education, you can continue to do anything you want.
It seems to be part of within me. When I make money and so on, and I don't need it, why would I want to waste it doing something else which is not useful? So really, I felt money should be used usefully for your family and for others.
I'd like to call upon the University of Saskatchewan's very own Greystone Singers to perform a song in recognition of the extraordinary support that the Nasser family have shown to this university.
It's a historic event today, an event of great contemporary importance, and it's a symbolic event. It's historic, of course, because we celebrate today, as you've already heard, the largest philanthropic contribution to the University of Saskatchewan in our history.
The London building is what is now it's called the Vienna Apartments, or the KW Nasser Center downtown.
When I was dean of the business school, I had the great opportunity to spend a bit of time with Kay and with John and Mona. And one of the things that I had discussed was I really think it's time for the business school to have a presence across the river, a presence downtown.
And that's why I decided that we will donate to the university the $12 million.
And within a very short period of time, it turned into the very important gift that is now the Nasser Center in downtown Saskatoon.
Kay Nasser was making donations to the university, to students, from his very first paycheck when he came to the University of Saskatchewan. And those of us that worked around Kay never knew that.
And I've done that all my life.
That kind of big picture, small picture, who can I help and how does that help the community and what can I do in the community that will help the individuals?
I think it's very personal for you as well. He meets the students, he talks to the students, he tells them his story, and most importantly, he listens to their story.
He says, I am so personally grateful for all of those who encouraged my education, and therefore that is the spirit with which Kay Nasser has then been giving back to students all this time.
1 year in the province here, we had very good crops. And what are we going to do with all that wheat?
And my dad thought, well, we have this great dish in Lebanon called kibbe, which is a mix of ground beef and ground wheat.
Well, the wheat burger we basically created in this kitchen here, my wife and the rest of us. She does the mixing, we do the eating and tasting.
And so he decided to open up a restaurant and call it the Wheatkey Cafe. And, you know, he'd never been in the restaurant business before.
I have been always surprised at the new ideas he would have come up like that. And like the Wheatkey, he went through with it to the end.
Unfortunately, got shut down. The rationale at the time was that they couldn't distinguish the protein between the meat and the wheat.
If he had brought it on the market now, I always said he was 30 years ahead of his time because I'm sure it would have been a successful venture now.
Here's our space entrance right here. Office, workspace, and another breakout room over here, which could be a library. I think it'd be nice to be a library.
Now where do you have the boardroom?
Right here. Between these columns,
is
basically.
It common area?
So here to here.
Yeah, you're standing in it.
We're in the boardroom
Everybody
right now.
can use that?
Sure, everybody can use it.
Oh, I see.
Except you.
That's okay.
I know I'm not going to surprise anybody in the room when I tell you that I've met few people in this world that carry themselves with the level of compassion, caring, integrity, and class that Kay Nasser exudes, and that he exudes every day. Kay's love of Saskatoon is well documented. His love of the city and this project and his dedication and tenacity to ensure River Landing got built deserves special recognition. So with that, on behalf of Greystone Managed Investments, I'm honored to announce that from this day forward, the plaza will be called KW Nasser Plaza.
It was a surprise, yes. I was really very humbled to see that they have done that, and I feel very proud that our city will have that kind of a plaza in between those towers.
So it'll be pretty inspiring and special to be sitting in an office space that is overlooking the plaza named after my father. The adverse effect is when he's gone, I'll still be looking over that same plaza as a reminder, which it'll be a big void in our lives when he's gone.
Don't cry, my daughter. You're such a wonderful daughter. Oh, we have all been together.
This has been very amazing, this whole journey.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, very proud of you,
It's a
Dad,
wonderful
John.
life that we have.
Yeah. No is not a word that's in his vocabulary unless he's saying it to somebody. No to him means, let's just try another way and get this done.
One of the things that I think is truly remarkable about Kay is just his ability to have incredible success in many different areas. I mean, the university has had many great profs, many great researchers, many great teachers, and Kay was all of that at once. And Saskatoon has had many great business people, and he's been one of those too. And you read his book and you see the devotion and commitment to family is pretty profound. And it's just remarkable for one person to achieve so much in so many different areas.
I often talk about the kind of the multi-dimensions of Kay Nasser and the Nasser family, and it's just a fascinating story. This consistency of being a learner, of being creative, being inquisitive, being curious, this life of being loyal to family, of nurturing relationships, of seeing citizenship as something that's really important. And it's stringing all of that together that makes his life and makes his contributions so remarkable.
Changing the Saskatoon skyline, changing the development on the riverbank, making river landing a true gathering place. You know, people are just seeing firsthand, some for the first time, just that important role that the Nassers have played and will continue to play for many, many years in this community.
I enjoy what I'm doing. If I don't enjoy it, I don't do it. Once things don't jibe and don't work, I'll have to stop. But so far, I am fine.
Let's cut there.
So, I mean, they're all cliches. But they're cliches for a reason. It's because they're practiced and proven, I guess. So you want me to say that? If you want to be successful, read Kay's Observations and Musings about Life, but just take into consideration he's old-fashioned? Here's one. Marry a young, healthy, good-looking, responsible, respected, educated optimist. Procreate. Pass on the torch. You will be elated, loved, respected, remembered, and praised. How's that?
It's quite an experience, really, to run a restaurant. Especially what happens is that the employees, some of them don't show up. And then what can you do? So finally, we started asking our kids to go down whenever something like that happens.
So my sister and I, who was 12, I was 11, we were there, the two of us, and you know, Dad has come and opened the restaurant and then he leaves. And so this man came in who wanted to order scrambled eggs. So it was determined I would be the waitress. My sister, sorry, the short order cook. So we're whispering in the back, and so I go up, you know, and take the man's order, and he wants scrambled eggs and toast. And so I go to tell my sister.
And we don't do scrambled eggs at home, I do fried eggs. So she didn't know what to do.
So we're again whispering in the back, so I go to the front to the man. We don't know how to make scrambled eggs. Sorry. Anyway, so he proceeded to tell us how to make scrambled eggs. And my sister followed the instructions, and out came this watery plate of scrambled eggs. And I think we didn't keep that customer. Sorry. But you know what? To him, this is just business. I mean, it's okay if you have your 12-year-old, 11-year-old daughter running this restaurant by themselves. He has a lot of confidence in people. I know I've got tears under my eyes here.